Hello dear friends, and today I would like to tell you about all the bosses we should expect in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. I want to tell you right away that there will be much more bosses in the fourth part than Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, and the game itself will be much longer. I suggest you don't stay long and start revealing all the new bosses. Let's go. So we start with the ones we are 100% likely to see in Chapter 4 as bosses. Many people were sure that Bron would appear in Chapter 3, because in the first teaser trailer after the severed body of Mommy Longlegs, we were shown Bron's head. But as we already know, the main antagonist of Chapter 3 is not Bron at all, and I'm sure Bron is the most desirable character we've seen so far. And it's probably time to tell us more about this dinosaur, especially since his life story in Playtime Co. is very fascinating, and it would be interesting to know how it will affect Bron in the future. In case you don't know, Thomas Clark, a 59-year-old full-time employee of Playtime Co., was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. After receiving the diagnosis, he willingly volunteered to be part of the Bigger Bodies experiment. Scientists placed his organs, eyes, and brain inside a Bron toy in what became known as the 1199 experiment. He was severely disoriented and did not know where he was or what had happened to him. When 1199 was introduced to the other experiments, they immediately realized that he was not an orphan forced to be an experimenter. As a result, Boxy Boo almost completely ate his vocal cords and thyroid gland before the research team intervened to stop the experiments from killing Bron. It took 12 hours of surgery to stabilize Bron's condition. He was then placed in solitary confinement to protect him from further experiments. And since we've already talked about Boxy Boo, I think it's time to give this character some attention. Because he, like Bron, is the monster that a lot of people want to see in the new chapter. Boxy Boo was one of the characters we see on that very ominous tape, The Hour of Joy. Boxy Boo is one of the main monsters whose death we haven't seen yet. Yes, in the previous versions of the game we saw the death of characters like Huggy Waggy, Mommy Longlegs, and of course the main character of the third part of Poppy Playtime, CatNap, and we shouldn't forget his former friends from Smiling Critters who died at his hands. So for now, Boxy Boo is one of the few surviving characters we haven't seen yet. So we can expect him to appear in all likelihood. My opinion about Boxy Boo is that I would be happy to see him in the new version of the game, if only the developers could introduce him into the story and make his existence in the game as interesting as possible. And now let's talk about less obvious options, namely that our new hero will be CatNap. Despite everything, we cannot exclude the possibility that we will be introduced to the already deceased CatNap. Of course, he will not be one of the main villains as it was in the third chapter, but as a secondary character, he is ideal. We all know that the prototype killed CatNap, but this amazingly horrible cat is so well liked that I think it is necessary to make him a reference in the new chapter. But how will that happen? I'm sure that Chapter 4 will reveal the biggest secret of the Playtime Corporation, and we'll finally find out who the prototype is. But judging by some of the leaks, we do get to see him in full. My favorite theory is that in Chapter 4 he will be able to defeat those who stand in his way. But in Chapter 5, we will be able to see an epic confrontation between all the rebel monsters and Prototype, where they will defeat him and harmony will reign in the Playtime Factory. What's your favorite Prototype theory? Another possible newcomer we should expect to see in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is likely to be Mr. Delight. Yes. That's the husband of the same Miss Delight from Chapter 3 who went crazy and killed all of her sisters. But if Miss Delight was a negative character who wanted to kill us, then her husband Mr. Delight is different, and he will most likely be our main helper in the fourth chapter. Now I suggest we discuss who we might see from Smiling Critters as bosses in the new fourth chapter. The first one I'd like to tell you about is Piggy, who looks like a cute little piggy, but we all know that this piggy is a bloodthirsty monster who doesn't even spare his friends from Smiling Critters, Bubba Fant, and Crafty Corn to prove it. So here I am thinking that in Chapter 4, we will be able to see a huge version of Piggy that will be very bloodthirsty. Apparently his huge size is due to the fact that he ate smaller monsters and thus reached this size. I have seen a video in which Piggy is chasing our character. I can only assume that he is chasing in order to eat him, but I think that Piggy expects the same fate as the other bosses of the game. Namely, he will simply fall into the hands of Prototype after his death and will bring his plan closer to fulfillment. The next character we might see as a boss in Chapter 4 might be Kicken Chicken. From his cardboard in the third chapter, we learn that he wants to escape from Playcare, because he can no longer stand all these horrors that are happening here. But what if he succeeded and we can see him in the fourth chapter? Most likely he will also be big, and I dare say he will not be very kind to us, so we'll have to hide from him. I also came across an excerpt that shows Kicken Chicken chasing after our character, as a result of which Kicken Chicken will die and his body will be taken away by Prototype, as it happened with bosses from other chapters. There is also a possibility that we will see Kicken Chicken in conjunction with his brother Crocky Rocky, and maybe they will be the key figures in Chapter 4. Maybe from them we can find out what really happened to all the orphans in Playcare, and also find out what happened to the rest of the smiling critters. Another character I'd like to talk about would be Snidey Spidey. He is a spider who is an experiment of the Bigger Bodies Initiative. I got a glimpse of his cardboard, from which we can learn some interesting things, namely that he is a member of the Smiling Critters, and he tells us that he loves to scare others and that it makes his blood boil. Creepy, isn't it? In my opinion, Snidey Spidey is a great fit for the role of Prototype's main sidekick in the 4th installment of the game. I also think that he will have some kind of superpower, and judging by the fact that he is a spider, this superpower will be a spider web, which will be a trap for our character. But as sad as it is for me to say it, it looks like he will suffer the same fate as CatNap. After all, we already know that Prototype spares no one on his way, and in order to make his plan come true, he is ready to sacrifice even his most loyal monsters. Just recently, I found a very interesting passage where our favorite DogDay kills Snidey Spidey and then passes out. But then Mr. Delight comes to our rescue, and we transport the exhausted DogDay to the hospital to help him recover. The funny thing is that in the hospital, there is a cardboard Snidey Spidey who was killed by DogDay a couple of moments ago. So from here, we can note that in the 4th chapter, we will be able to see our favorite DogDay, and he will act as our assistant. Another character from Smiling Critters that we can expect to see as a boss in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is Hoppy Hopscotch. After our character and Mr. Delight take DogDay to the hospital, we can see the silhouette of Hoppy Hopscotch running past us. After several attempts to catch up with her, our character catches Hoppy Hopscotch in the far room, which is the only lighted room in the whole building. Here, Hoppy Hopscotch reveals to us a secret that some inexplicable things happen to her when it gets dark. Suddenly, the lights start to go out, and she warns us to get out of here. Later, we learn from DogDay that all members of Smiling Critters have nightmare mode, which they can't control, and to get rid of it, you need to run a strong energy charge through your body. After this manipulation, Hoppy Hopscotch got over it, and just like DogDay, she became a helper for our character. She even told us where we can find Bobby Bear Hug, and this is another character from Smiling Critters that we can see as a boss in the 4th chapter. Once in the prison-like room, in a cage we see Bobby Bear Hug, who after a couple of moments becomes enraged and takes out the cage, fleeing in an unknown direction. Exploring this location, we get to a certain room, where we are attacked by the same Bobby Bear Hug, but then Hoppy Hopscotch, who already knows us, intervenes and stands up for us. But as a result of this fight, Hoppy Hopscotch was very badly hurt and lost consciousness. And then the most interesting thing happened. Prototype showed up, and as it turns out, Bobby Bear Hug is his assistant. And as far as I'm concerned, the rest of the Smiling Critters will suffer the same fate as Hoppy Hopscotch. I guess none of us expected Bobby Bear Hug to fulfill the role of traitor. So, which bosses are you most looking forward to seeing in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4? Be sure to write your opinion in the comments. I'd love to read it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. That's all for today. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.